Hi there, greetings and salutations. My name is Jake Query. That is
Derek Schultz.
Yeah, thank you. That is Derek Schultz, and this is the incredibly, creatively, and appropriately named Query and Schultz program here on ISC Sports Network. If I'm not mistaken, it is somewhere around episode number 112.
112 on the dot. You got it.
Is that right?
You got it, pal.
Okay. And Derek, by the way, before we get to talking about the Colts and the Eagles, before we get to talking about Indiana and college basketball, before we get to talking about college football, before we get to talking about the World Cup, Derek apparently has decided that he is in some way, shape, or form Eric Heiden, which I was unaware of. This is a new revelation and another of the made-up skills of Derek Schultz that no one knows, nor has confirmed, nor probably cares about. But I will let you toot your own horn here. Tout yourself.
Are you talking about – I don't know who Eric Heiden is. Okay. Are you talking about my ice skating? Because that's something that I shared with you before we began taping today, about my ability to ice skate.
Derek claims to be Peggy Fleming.
Was she the one that had the injured ankle that had to Chris Kattan did her on the Saturday Night Live, did her character?
Dorothy Hamill.
That one I know a little bit more. Famous author. Dorothy Hamill. Little Women?
Derek claims to be Tanya Harding.
That one I know. Ice skater. Jeff Gillooly.
Yeah.
I know all the names associated with that one.
The video? Did you see the video?
The wedding night video?
Yeah.
No, I know that it exists, but I did not watch it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay. Can we move on to something else?
Sure.
Okay.
So tell me about your ice skating exploits.
Oh, see, I don't even want to lead the show with that. We've got so much stuff to get into. I'm a very good ice skater. I went ice skating at Holiday Park. We had neighbors of ours that their twin girls go to St. Thomas with James. They invited us to go with them, and we had like 90 minutes of basically free skate time. And the only problem is that there were too many children on the ice. Like, I was trying to do laps, and I was going for speed, and I was kind of testing myself.
What are you, Anton Apollo?
Because I've never actually ice skated before, but I channeled my inner blader. Throughout the 90s, I was an elite rollerblader. Like, I could have been a competitive rollerblader, like that level. And the weight distribution and all of that and kind of the feel for it, ice is a little bit different from pavement, but it's very similar. It's very similar to rollerblading, like the actual movement. And I hit my muscle memory and my athleticism, and it just worked. It was duck to water.
It's not even water. It's frozen.
No, but I mean, like the saying, duck to water. I took to it like duck to water.
You know that your advantage is that you have a low center of gravity.
Okay, see, you have an explanation for anything that I'm way better at you than, and it always has to do with my height.
Can you do jumps?
Ping pong, remember? I used to stuff you in a garbage disposal every afternoon playing ping pong. We'd play best of threes, and I'd sweep them all. No, and you'd say, well, it's because you have, like, T-Rex arms, and you're able to blah, blah, blah. No, it's just because I'm better than you.
Okay.
That's what it is.
If you say so.
Has nothing to do with anything
Derek,
else.
we had a lot of fun over the weekend, unlike right now, when we went to Hoagie and Hops for lunch, right?
Yeah, I was at Hoagies and Hops 3 straight days because we did Hoagies and Hops after ice skating, and then I went to pick up the sandwiches as well.
I mean,
so Friday, buddy lunch with you, then ice skating, and then picking up the sandwiches.
And that's at 42nd and Boulevard?
42nd and Boulevard. We'll have our Hoagies and Hops Hero of the Week, and unfortunately, because we love Christina, a big win for the Eagles.
Well, fortunately for her, right?
Well,
it's a very cool place, and I respect her tributes to her home area and
100%. That doesn't mean that I have to like the Eagles, though.
Okay, fair enough.
Right?
This is, by the way, Query and Schultz presented to you by Bailey & Wood, the home lending experts, because you want your money to stay right here in Indiana when you are buying a home in Indiana. Rates rising just a little bit, but Bailey & Wood is there to make the best deal for you and get you inside of a new home. Derek, people can find out more about Bailey & Wood at
bawfg.com or by calling 855-350-HOME.
855-350.
In any one of their
home
dozens of Indiana branch locations. I think they're up to 16 now.
And no matter where, at this point, you buy a home in central Indiana, you are probably close to a Lou Malnati's. And we are inside the Lou Malnati's studio here doing the show today. Again, the best pies, as Derek calls them, or as I call it, simply Chicago-style pizza that you're going to find, as well as a wide array of other menu items at their Broderpool location in particular. That's the dine-in location, but they have multiple areas around central Indiana, right, Derek?
They do, across the street from Brebeuf, so West 86th Street, kind of northwest side, Carmel. and down in Greenwood as well, and the store opening soon in Avon.
Felt like a missed opportunity for the Colts. As I had mentioned earlier this morning, Derek, if you were, if you look at the Pacers and what the Pacers, we thought, were going to try to do at the beginning of this year, which was stay relevant, stay exciting through the course of games, but keep yourself in position for a good draft pick. That's basically what the Colts did yesterday.
Yeah, that result, I guess if you want to spin it glass half full, it's probably better for the Colts not to win games right now.
Well,
It's probably better for that not to happen. So, sure, and the Eagles are really good, and the Colts aren't good. So the fact that they held their own really for 3.5 quarters against what we think is a true Super Bowl contender this year, I think is a positive thing. The frustrating thing, Jake, is that this very much followed the same script as the identical 17-16 score against another NFC East opponent, which was Washington. Colts were in control of that game until they were out of it.
Right.
And it's just a tough way to lose when you have it, and then in the final minutes, you lose it.
I was looking yesterday, Derek, and I agree to an extent with what you're saying in terms of, in reality, losing games for the Colts now probably is the better deal because you want to move up in the draft. That's a hard pill to swallow, I realize, for a franchise that thought at the beginning of the season that they were going to be a deep playoff contender. But the scary thing to me about the Colts is that Jim Irsay or Chris Ballard are going to look at this, and mathematically, they're still kind of in the thick of the wild card chase. Now, they're on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
But right now, 5-5, 6-4 gets you right there in contention for a wild card. And the Colts, strangely enough, the first tiebreaker, there's head-to-head, and then the second tiebreaker is conference record.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at it, the Colts have the opportunity to sweep the AFC West. Theoretically, they're going to get swept potentially by the NFC East. Those NFC losses are a little less egregious because it's outside
less
conference.
Harmful. Yep.
So they may still – my worry would be that the Colts are going to falsify themselves. I don't even know if that's a word, but the Colts are going to convince themselves that they still have something to salvage from this season. They don't. But they're going to think they do, and they're going to go for it. And for what? To now go and draft 17th?
Yeah, you know what's going to happen. Colts have 6 games left. They have some tough opponents in there, but Pittsburgh's not one of them. Pittsburgh's a bad football team.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's bad.
Houston's probably the worst team in the league. And then, the Giants are insanely beatable. Hell, the Colts could beat anybody.
You're right.
Right? They could. They
hung with Philly.
It's this kind of year in the NFL where you can beat anybody, but we can save this tape and Vince or Jordan or whatever can mark it. I guarantee you that this is what's going to happen. The Colts are going to split their final 6 and finish 7-9-1. And that's the worst place to be.
Yeah.
That's the absolute worst place to be. In a lost season, that is the worst place to be.
You're stuck in mid-pack. You know what it is? My bad analogies, I realize.
Sure.
You ever get stuck in traffic and you're in the middle lane and you can go left or right and you hop over into another lane and then everything else starts moving?
Yep.
They're just stuck in the middle lane.
Yeah.
They're just stuck in the middle lane. Traffic's moving on both sides and they're like, I can't get over. Nobody's letting me in.
Jeff Saturday's not going to get in there wanting to lose, right? Irsay is not wired that way. He's not going to want to lose. The players themselves, when they take the field, they're not going to want to lose. We talk about tanking all the time.
Irsay looked like he wanted to lose when he said, let's go with Sam Ellinger, right?
Yeah, who knows about that one? My point is, Jake, very rarely, there are some cases where this has happened, but very rarely are teams going to ever intentionally
Are you wearing
tank.
anything under that sweater?
No, just
okay. I don't need to see that.
Yeah, no, I don't wear undershirts.
Well, typically a sweater like that you wear either with like a T-shirt underneath it or like a dress shirt.
Why? It's really comfortable. I don't get.
That's not itchy.
No, not at all.
That doesn't itch your nipples.
No, not at all. My skin does not really get. I have beautiful skin. Soft. You want to feel it?
No,
I'm very soft. I do the lotion, whatever. What is it, Nivea or something like that for men? I do that at night, and I rub that all over my body, and it preserves my skin. It gives it a nice shine and a tone, and then I don't have to worry about that. I also have hardy nipples. Like, I've never had chafing or anything like that as well. So, that's not really something that's been a concern. I know that is a concern for other men. That's not a concern for me.
Okay. Do you ever have moments where you have like 90 seconds of your life you wish you could do over?
Here, this is the thing. you bring up a topic and then you get mad at me when we like, are we adult males? Can we talk about these things and our bodies and these issues? I don't see what the big deal is. There are lots of people in our listening audience that are 25 to 54-year-old men, and it's relatable because some guys are probably saying to themselves, "Yeah, I got hardy nips too," or whatever else. Like they know what we're talking about.
Okay.
Back to the Colts, though. The problem continues to be, and look, I don't want to. Yesterday is a heartbreaking loss, right? But when Hurts went into the end zone like that, and then, of course, the Colts' comeback attempt went completely nowhere.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Right? They had a false start and a sack and all of that. There was part of me that thought, okay, well, at least this underlines the point that the narrative that this is all Frank Reich's fault is wrong.
Right.
You can't make chicken salad from chicken bleep. And it doesn't matter if it's Reich, if it's Saturday, if it's Parks Frazier calling the plays. It does not matter. This offense is bad. And it's really hard to overcome. Even in a year where NFL offenses are down across the board, Jake, it is very difficult to win consistently if you're scoring 13, 14, 16, 17 points every week.
Let me ask you something. Okay, we're going to go through a drill here, and I want you to answer like yes, no.
Okay.
I want you to envision that you hire a builder to build a home for you. The home is built, and he says, you're ready to move in, and you move in. And you start to notice cold air in the house.
Drafty.
Yeah. So you fire the window guy, and you have somebody come in and put in all new windows. And it's still drafty. So you call up the roofing guy, and you have him tear up all of the shingles, and you have a different guy put down all new shingles. Still drafty.
Mm-hmm.
So you then decide that the floor planner, the guy that came in and laid down the floor planning, maybe made the ceilings too high, so you fire him and you bring somebody else in, and he redoes your ceilings. And it's still drafty. At some point, do you start to wonder if whether or not the guy that designed and built your house did it improperly?
So a roundabout way of saying that this is a
Chris Ballard
problem. Mm-hmm.
had an offensive line that everybody on the planet who was not as smart as he told him was a concern, and that the most important position, the left tackle, needed to be addressed. And everybody who was not as smart as he told him that. And he said, we're good. I got a guy in Matt Pryor. I gave him $5 million. We're going to be good. And then that didn't work out. So Matt Pryor basically got fired at left tackle, and he went to guard. And then the guard got fired, and they put another one in there, and they started rotating those around. Every change they made didn't work. So they fired the offensive coordinator. And they brought in a new guy to call plays, and it didn't work. And they fired the head coach. And we're going to bring in a new head coach, and it was going to spread, and it didn't work. At some point, don't you start to question the guy that is in charge of putting all of this together?
And that's kind of my whole point, Jake, is that we have, and I'm sure it's this way in other NFL markets. I think just as humans and as sports fans, we want to just focus on one thing and say, this is the reason why this is happening. And we want to make it about one thing when almost always it's about multiple things. So this is a town where we blamed everything on Ryan Grigson, right? And then you come to find out, wait a minute, Pagano's not a great coach. In fact, Pagano is not only not a great coach, he's not a good one.
Right.
We want to blame everything on Carson Wentz. We beat up Carson Wentz on this show. Everybody beat up Carson Wentz. Their problems last year went beyond Carson Wentz.
Right.
And then this year it's been, well, Reich is soft or Reich is a bad play caller. And look, he deserved to lose his job, okay? It's his job to fix the offense. He did not fix the offense. But it's not just a Reich problem. The people that reduced the 2022 Colts issues to coaching and coaching only are wrong.
Derek, did you watch – I know it was last week and we talked about it, but did you watch the end of the Minnesota-Buffalo game? The one that was crazy?
Yes, okay. After the fact. I was not watching it live.
When Kirk Cousins is in trouble, what does he do?
Throw it up for grabs?
And who gets it?
One of his many elite receivers that he's always
Justin
had
Jefferson
at his disposal.
Just gets the ball, right?
Yeah.
He just makes plays because he's bigger, stronger, faster.
And Cousins has always had that guy.
Jefferson, who, by the way, the Colts could have had. But I digress. The point being, I'm not saying Kirk Cousins is a bad player, but Kirk Cousins has guys that he can throw to, and they're going to make a play. They're going to bail him out, right? The Colts have Michael Pittman Jr., who's a nice player. He's not he's going to make a play, throw it in his vicinity, he's going to get it open. They have no receivers that can get separation and get open to extend plays if the pocket's collapsing to bail out their quarterback. They don't have a line that can protect the quarterback to extend plays and allow him to even do that. And these are the two areas that Chris Ballard repeatedly heard people telling him, you have to address the line and you have to go out and get yourself, through free agency or elsewhere, a dynamic playmaking receiver. And he kept repeatedly saying to everyone, I'm smarter than you.
If I'm making the list of problems, though, I will defend the receivers. Like, I don't think
they're terrible.
Bad 1, 2,
I don't
3.
think they're terrible.
I don't.
But with this combination with the offensive line they have to play under, they need to be better.
You just can't do anything offensively if the offensive line can't be trusted.
Derek,
and that's
it's the highest paid line in the National Football League.
That's the situation that they're in. I understand it, and you can't trust them, right? And you also have a quarterback, let's face it, Matt Ryan, at this point in his career, he's barely average.
Right.
I mean, and I'm probably being kind in saying that, and he missed some throws yesterday as well. When the O-line is struggling this much, everything else has to be perfect, and you definitely don't have a perfect quarterback, and you don't have a perfect receiving group. But I do think that, unlike last year where you had Pittman and a bunch of practice squad level players, this is a good 1, 2, 3. Like, I think Campbell has made another big play.
Campbell's turned into a very good player, but he is not. He's not a, hey, we know that he's going to be. In other words, what I'm saying is, when the pocket's collapsing, which happens quickly, and Matt Ryan's in trouble, he doesn't have a guy that he's like, I can just throw it in that vicinity, and they're going to get themselves open.
But if Paris Campbell's your third guy, that's pretty good. If he is indeed your third guy.
The problem is right now he's their second guy.
Probably. But I think, again, the Pierce targets have gone down because they can't let anything develop.
Right.
They can't protect that long. You know, Pierce is a go up and get it guy, but you can't throw go up and get it stuff if you have a second and a half to get rid of the ball.
Was that the first time you've ever ice skated? Ever?
Yes. Yeah. Never in my life.
There's no way. I'm going to call your bluff on this. There's no way that you put skates on and immediately went out and were doing laps. No way.
It took me a second to grab my bearings.
Okay.
But there is like this, again, it's muscle memory. It'd be like if you didn't golf, if you were a PGA Tour golfer and then you stopped golfing for 15 years, you could probably get on the tee and swing. It's all muscle memory stuff.
You were never a PGA level golfer in any analogy.
Instinctual, kind of like just a raw ability. Me as a man, as a great rollerblader, I just tapped into that for ice skating.
Where did you rollerblade?
Where didn't I rollerblade? Middlebrook Elementary School I used to, until the on-site security officer would kick me off because you weren't supposed to skateboard, and it had a sign that said no skateboarding. And I would say, sir, I'm not skateboarding, I'm skating. And he said, skateboarding means all skating. So he used to kick me out of there. I'd go to Randall Park, but they had a lot of potholes. It was a lot like the post road of Trumbull, Connecticut, basically, where you're just driving along and kind of dodging landmines because the pavement's all tore up. 83.
The rollerblading thing was like 94, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, middle 90s. Yep.
You were like 10.
Yeah. And I rollerbladed everywhere. I did open skate at Tashua.
During your rollerblading prowess, you grew up. How long is the city? How long does it take to get to the city? 40 minutes?
No, longer than that. It would take like an hour to drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you lived an
With
hour
the traffic.
You lived an hour from the city, and you were a dynamic rollerblader, but yet you lived an hour from the most famous wintertime outdoor beautiful Spirit of Christmas park to skate at Rockefeller Plaza, the ice skating rink.
Never did it. Yeah. That was touristy stuff. That's what a tourist does. Like, do you go to Sbarro?
First off, it's a tourist.
You go to Sbarro and grab a New York slice when you're in Manhattan?
It's a tourist, not a tourist.
Tourist. Tourism. I'm saying it correctly. This is like scenario. Okay. It's the same sort of thing. Okay. Would you just cut me a break today? I don't know why you're harping on these things. I'm sorry that I'm a way better ice skater than you. And,
I'd like to see videos. All I'm saying.
My skin and my nipples and everything else are superior to yours. I'm sorry. Like, I have no control over that.
I'd like to see video.
I apologize. We did not take any video.
Well, they're open all season, right?
How about, great idea, just popped in my head. Let's grab lunch sometime, and we'll go to the fairgrounds after lunch. I got to wait 30 minutes before skating after eating because you get cramps. But we'll do the waiting period or whatever, and we'll go skating, and we'll do open skate at the fairgrounds. I think it's like $5 to rent the skates.
Well, I'll pay for you. I'll pay and watch and videotape.
Yeah. No, you have to skate with me.
I can't do it. I readily admit I can't do it.
I'll guide you along. Hold on to me, and I will keep you up.
No, there's
just
little,
hold on. I will hold my arm.
Zero.
And you can hold on to me
right here. 0% chance that I'm holding Derek's
I will center
furry
your weight.
arm. No chance.
Well, we're gonna be wearing coats. It's cold outside. It's ice skating. I don't know if you've ever ice skated before. It's chilly. But just hold on to my arm,
by the
and
way,
I'll take you around the rink.
Speaking of ice, I will be at the Indy Fuel game on December the 9th as in partnership with Community Health Network. No, actually not shooting the puck. I'd like to do that, actually. Going there because it is Heart Health Awareness Night on December 9th at the Indy Fuel game, including the possibility to win free heart scans. So I'm going to be there on December 9th to help spread
You going
that
out on the
message.
ice?
I don't think so.
Okay, because you can hold my arm if you need to. I can escort you out on the ice. Sometimes they put a carpet down, but you've seen people bite it before on the ice, like anthem singers. But I can help center your gravity if you want to hold onto my arm. And then I could give a little wave to the crowd. I mean, people, whenever you show up anywhere, people are going to expect to see me.
I have news for you. If you're doing it regardless of what kind of wave it's intended to be, it's a little wave. Yes.
It's like that. That's all.
Okay.
We'll talk more Colts. We'll talk more NFL when we come back. We got all of our features to get to. Buy it or bowl bleep. We're going to move that up.
Okay.
A couple of segments. We'll do a little buy it or bowl bleep when we return.
Bowl bleep.
College basketball.
Bull Schultz, by the
college football. We got a ton to get to today.
Lot to get to.
Just getting started. Episode 112. Corey and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Other universities didn't fit into my life.
They said I'd have to quit my job to go to school.
He said it would take me 4 years to graduate.
They said I have to take tests when they tell me to.
They said my degree would cost a fortune.
But I didn't have to listen to them.
Because I have a university that listens to me.
Tests on your time, courses on your time, graduate on your time. WGU, the University of You.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Rolling right along here on a chilly Monday. Thanks so much for joining us. It's Bailey and Wood presents Query and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network. Alongside this empty chair, I'm Derek Schultz.
Not empty anymore.
Jake coming back from a bathroom break. Time to get to our
Derek, you don't have to tell him that. I could have been anywhere.
Lou Malnati's Who's Cooking this week. As we mentioned, 4 Indy area locations, about to be a 5th. West 86th Street, Carmel, Greenwood. The 5th about to be Avon, and then our favorite, the dine-in location in Broad Ripple.
Great
which
location.
Is a beautiful, beautiful space.
Perfect this time of year because it's cozy on the inside.
For sure, yeah. You don't obviously do the outside patio this time of year, but the inside space is very cozy. I know that we talk a lot about the Chicago-style pies or the white pie that they have heading all through the rest of 2022, but the wings, fantastic.
Yeah.
Their gorgonzola salad, I really like. And you got a sando, didn't you, last time we were there?
Sando?
Yeah, sandwich.
Yes.
You got a sandwich, which was really good as well. So whether it's
the
pies,
white pie, though.
Pies, sandos, whatever else that you want to get at Lou Malnati's, order.loumalnati's.
Pizzas and sandwiches along with wings.
Delicioso. Our Who's Cooking this week, a guy that a lot of people have complained about, which I feel bad because he's, by all accounts, I've never actually spoken to him or met him, but by all accounts, just a fantastic dude who's been real active in the community. Finally, a big game from Yannick Ngakoue.
Right.
Sack and a half, including a strip, which ended up being a big turnover to start the second half. Remember, you're thinking, hey, the Colts are up 10-3. This is great. Okay, here's where the other shoe drops. And instead, the Colts immediately made a statement there in that third quarter.
I realize that maybe, every player wants to be their own player, right? So maybe it's unfair to make this comparison, but the strip sack that he had on Jalen, it looked like It looked like Robert
For
Mathis.
sure,
or
yeah.
Freeney,
You
right?
just bring the hammer
I mean,
down.
he came around the corner, and you could see it developing,
Yeah.
and Jalen Hurts could not. And it was a wonderful play, and just to hear his name called. Now, I said, you ready for this, Derek? This is the kind of brilliance that you should kind of probably attach your wagon to here.
Okay, like me on ice?
The Colts need Ngakoue to play well, correct?
Yeah. I mean, they need a pass rush.
So you know what? His new nickname?
Yannick and going to play well?
No. You need Ngakoue.
Okay. Great.
It's not bad, is it?
Yeah, it's wonderful.
No, it's pretty good. Derek's jealous deep down. He's saying to himself, if only I would have come up with that. You need Ngakoue, right? Other teams got a 3rd and 5. Stop is necessary. You need Ngakoue, right?
I feel like Chrissy Teigen at that award show, that GIF where she's just like, I'm trying to smile through it. Like, I think it's completely.
She's the one that's married to
John Legend. Yeah. I think it's completely idiotic what you just said, but I'm trying to like put a good face on it. You need Ngakoue. Yeah, it's great.
It's pretty good. You wish you'd come up with it.
I think there were a couple of good performances yesterday. The Colts. It stinks because the glaring mistake of the game was Hurts in an obvious draw situation on 3rd and goal from, the 9-yard line.
Well, they had pushed him back, right? I mean,
obviously it's 4-down territory for the Eagles, right? They're trying to win the game. And it was the most obvious of obvious draw situations because you're thinking to yourself, okay, even if he doesn't get in the end zone, at least we're going to get up to the 2-3 yard line.
Right.
And the C's just part.
It was unbelievable.
It was. They did such a good job. I know he ended up with like 80-something rushing yards or whatever, but I think for the most part they did a good job of kind of containing him. And then, man, it just
Derek,
it all broke loose.
He's a guy, Jalen Hurts, that was another one that I think that there was exploration or talk. I'm not trying to just sit here and absolutely bag on Chris Ballard. I think Chris Ballard's a good general manager, don't get me wrong. I don't think he's the elite level that we were sold that he was going to be. But there are areas that lead you to question. And one of those would be the quarterback position. And it feels like Chris Ballard has staved drafting a quarterback for as long as possible because he knows that when you draft a quarterback is when you put yourself on the clock.
Yeah.
And he's avoided
That's
doing
why.
that forever. And Jalen Hurts is one of those that he avoided selecting.
And I don't want to do this revisionist history with every single quarterback like Justin Fields and people like that they passed on. But to your point, Jake, you got to take a swing. And a lot of people have pointed to this, but I don't think this is a hindsight is 2020 thing. I think that offseason after Rivers and he's retiring and you're thinking, okay, we got by an extra year, right, with Rivers.
Correct.
We stole a year from this thing. That had to be the year that you take the swing.
Now,
and some people would say, well, you took the swing on
which
Wentz.
draft would that have
that's
been?
not really. There was the 20 draft with Mac Jones and Fields and Wilson and Lawrence and that whole group.
Okay, hang on. Oh,
and a lot of those guys haven't panned out, at least so far.
which one would you say hasn't panned out?
I mean, Wilson doesn't look. Lawrence doesn't look great. They're going to give him as much time as possible because they're fully invested.
And
but
Lawrence also.
Lawrence hasn't been as good as advertised.
No, well, there's no doubt. But he also walked into a horrible
For
situation.
sure, yeah. And Mac Jones is just.
You said 20, right?
I always felt Mac Jones was just the guy.
What year was that draft?
The 21 draft. So after the 20 season is when the Colts should have taken that swing. Sorry, it was April of 2021.
Okay, hang on. I'm trying to see where.
So Trey Lance, I think it would have been Lawrence 1, Wilson 2,
So the
Trey
Colts-
Lance 3.
The Colts took Kwity Paye, right?
Yeah, Mac Jones in the teens somewhere. And then Justin Fields was like 21, 19, 20, 21, somewhere in there.
I'm looking to see. Yeah, Kyle Trask was the next quarterback taken.
Yeah, there was no one else after that top
Right.
five, but there were
Davis Mills.
that top five was a group that was highly regarded.
Right.
That was considered a really good quarterback class. And it's performed less than that, but yeah, that's I think where you
It
have to
just
take a
seems
swing.
like they have held this off for as long as possible, and they need to figure something out. Elsewhere around the league, Derek, who's the best team in the NFC?
I mean, I still think it's Philly. Cowboys, what they did to Minnesota
I
yesterday.
mean,
my
Dallas.
God.
And here's the
But
thing:
I still think it's Philly.
don't sleep on this team.
The Bucks?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're going to win their division.
I know.
They're going to host a playoff game.
Yeah. And it's Brady, right? And things
Right.
always fall his way, it feels like. Can you believe the Rams are 3-7?
Unbelievable. They were a little cocky, weren't they?
Yeah, but that's pretty shocking that they're 3-7.
They lost to the Saints.
Packers, we thought maybe we're going to kind of rally back. Forget it. They're
done.
toast. I mean, it's hard to take the Giants seriously. It feels like that pumpkin's turning into a carriage here. I just keep waiting for one of these NFC West teams to make a run, like Arizona.
Arizona's
I guess we could write
dead.
the Rams off.
Arizona's dead in the water.
The Niners.
How about Seattle? Seattle might win that division, Derek.
It's just it adds on. It adds on to the frustration of this year for the Colts, Jake. That okay, let's take the Chiefs. Chiefs, sure. Chiefs are a great team.
Right.
Buffalo's a great team. When you get beyond those two, any one of these other teams is insanely beatable and flawed. And it's just, for all those years where, the Colts fell short, there were elite teams. Like those Patriots teams were elite. A lot of those Steelers teams were elite. And those San Diego teams, a couple of those teams were elite. And it
that's
sucks
LA
that
now.
It sucks that this is the current state of affairs, because if the Colts even had a mediocre offense, they'd be right in playoff contention.
Somebody texted me. It was either a text or a tweet last night, but it's so true. It might have been you, Derek, that you may have retweeted it, that said, and I'm paraphrasing, the Colts have a defense to take them to the Super Bowl, and the Colts have an offense to take them to the top 5 in the draft.
It wasn't me that tweeted that. It was somebody else. I can't take credit for it, but yeah, that's what you feel like. And look, I don't want to sit here and say this defense is like the 85 Bears or 2000 Ravens. Like, I'm not even sure that this is a top 5 NFL defense this year, but it's in that mix. I mean, it's certainly a top 10 level NFL defense. And in a year where offenses stink across the board, if the Colts were even averaging 21 points a game, which normally is not a very great, just a good NFL offense, the division, the playoffs, all that stuff would be on the table for them.
Right.
This is a really mediocre. I mean, look around some of the scores yesterday, Jake. Did you see? Like the Ravens won, I think, 13-3. Eagles 17-16. Patriots 10-3. Ravens 13-3. Raiders 22-16. Commanders 23-10. You actually did have some more higher scoring games, like the Steelers.
Well,
and
Derek,
and
don't you
Bengals
remember a
and-
couple of weeks ago when I pointed out how many winning quarterbacks had fewer than 200 yards in a win?
It's just it's wild. It feels like we're in a time machine this year in the NFL, and you're going back to like the early 2000s or maybe even the 90s with some of this.
Yeah, I mean,
Teams aren't scoring.
It is pretty wide open, which to your point is all the more reason why it's frustrating that the Colts are just kind of stuck in mediocrity quicksand.
Yeah, no question about it.
Time for Bite or Bull, Schultz?
Yeah, we're going to go a little early today with our friends at Chateau Kitchens and Bite or Bull Bleep. We are signed, sealed, and delivered to do our basement. So we're going to come in and
but you get the point.
clean it up, reno that baby. And
I thought you've been doing the basement for a while.
No, we had been talking about
What are you going
it.
to do with it?
We're going to finish it.
Well, I know, but I mean, you going to turn it into like a playroom?
No,
or
so
a bedroom, or
so it's two sides. You've been in my basement before. It's two sides. We're gonna do a laundry room into like almost like a mud room. On one side, playroom, living area, sort of TV, couch. It's not a huge space. And then on the other side, basically just a pantry, and then
bomb shelter
and office space.
Pantry for
no, I'm not one of those doomsday preppers. But we do have a large pantry.
47 cans of Dinty-Moore beef stew.
Well, that's the thing. I do whenever something's on sale, I stock up.
It is on sale also.
Sorry.
Derek, which is why
so
it's
our
on
pantry
sale.
has a lot of stuff in it. Like for instance, we have I think we have 8 tubs
you
of
can see
Tide
the phone
Pods.
number right there. Zoom in on that bad boy. Huh?
I think we have 8 pods.
There's all the information you need. You don't even need a full screen graphic. It's all right there for you.
Because they were on sale. We were like, we're always going to use laundry detergent. It doesn't expire. Let's just knock it out. So Steven and Ryan and Megan are going to tackle our basement.
Okay.
And then you can come over and watch games with me.
Yeah, it's unlikely.
We're going to do a little bar in there.
Get some of your stale bread while I'm there.
I have some like whiskeys and bourbons from 2014 that haven't been.
I have become a bourbon guy. Scott McConnell got me a.
You hate it.
No, Scott McConnell got me a bottle of bourbon for my birthday.
He told you specifically that you can regift it because he knows you don't like bourbon.
Correct,
Yeah.
but I put it in the freezer.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not one of those that puts it over the little round ice cube and all that. Now.
Yeah.
So you just keep I just keep it in the freezer.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't freeze, and then I'd pour probably the equivalent of a half a shot and just sip on it, and it's like a buttery syrup. Now, the thing is, he got me this expensive bottle.
Yeah,
So
it's the good stuff.
So I started at the top, right?
Yeah, it's not McCormick's or whatever.
Yeah, so that's the one challenge here is I got spoiled from the get-go.
Yeah.
But I'm a bourbon connoisseur now.
That's good because if you drink the bottom level stuff, like I remember Dark Ice vodka, we used to go to Sev's and we would get a Slurpee, 7-Eleven, and you get a Slurpee and then you get a flask of Dark Ice vodka, which was like $9 at CVS, and then you put it in and we go to Fairfield Beach after school and we throw the Frisbee or whatever like late in the year. And that was it was awful. Really bad.
You weren't rollerblading.
No, I was old. I was in my teens at that point. This would have been like high school.
You weren't 21?
This was a long time ago, and it was whatever. It's whatever. It's time that passed. I made some decisions that I probably shouldn't have made, but yeah. Dark Eyes was definitely one of those decisions.
Are you confessing to petty crimes right here?
Okay.
On the air?
I mean, do we want to be honest again? Like everybody does that. It
I don't
happens.
think that's true.
Yeah. So it's something that happened, which I'm not necessarily proud. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, that we did that.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what happened. I think they were more disappointed about the cigarettes, honestly. I think the drinking, they were just kind of like, whatever, just call us if you need a ride or anything else. But the cigarettes, they really didn't like. Let's get to Bite or Bold Bleep.
Okay.
So we stopped talking about who I was when I was 17 in 1999. The Colts' priority when drafting their next quarterback should be mobility. Bite or Bold Bleep?
Priority, or it would be nice?
I think all quarterbacks now can move around.
Correct. Especially
But
with that line. I mean, I'm going
degrees
to
of
say
moving
I
around.
buy it because
Yeah.
I mean,
Right? And that can be a fallback. Like even when Hurts has taken some seasoning, right? Jalen Hurts wasn't a ready-made quarterback by any stretch of the imagination.
Correct.
But he had the legs already, and it's almost like you can skirt by with that, skate by, whatever it is. Ice skate by. How about that? Ice skate by with that and the legs while you develop the other stuff. And I wonder if that's going to be have you looked at has Kevin started quizzing you on the quarterback class of
no, I mean, I know the
2023
kid
yet?
from Kentucky, and then
I mean,
the kid from Tennessee got hurt.
I'm a little bit familiar with those guys, whereas at least it's not a quarterback from like Zach Wilson at BYU. Like I'm not watching BYU games. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or these West Coast guys, it's a little bit tougher to watch. Trey Lance, something like that.
I was going to say, like, did you? I mean,
like SEC football's on all the time, so you get a chance to watch those quarterbacks play. But yeah, I buy it. I think you should weigh that in. I mean, obviously the guy's going to have ability and upside, but mobility is a big one. Statement 2, we're going to talk college hoops here in just a bit. Indiana will be a 1 or 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. Bite or Bold Bleep? Jumping the gun a little bit here.
I'll buy that.
Oh, wow.
A 2.
Are you
I mean, if they win,
overcompensating because you're so critical of Indiana? Because I feel like you
no, I think they're really good.
Okay.
Here's my one thing about Indiana. They have a great player in Trace Jackson Davis that they can ride certainly to the top of the Big Ten. And if you win the Big Ten, one would think that places you in the 1 to 2 bracket seed, right? Or 1 to 2 seed bracket. My hesitation with Indiana, I am very hesitant to hitch everything and push all in on a team that is as reliant as they need to be on Xavier Johnson. Because I think he's a wonderful player. I think he's totally unreliable. He's too streaky, and he's at times I think
he's definitely streaky.
Yeah, and he makes too many bad decisions.
But he's a good player. I mean, Xavier Johnson is one of the best guards in the Big Ten.
He's a good player.
I know he makes terrible mistakes at
He's Vernon Maxwell
times.
He's Vernon Maxwell.
Yeah, I think there's Lance Stevenson kind of was like that too, where when he's cooking, he's really good, but sometimes it's just erratic. I'm not ready to go there yet with Indiana, but I do think the win at Xavier, we're going to talk about this, is encouraging. And look, if Miller Kopp's going to make shots and these ancillary pieces are going to actually fill their roles, that makes Indiana that much better.
Let me tell you what,
because they have a lot more depth than they've had seemingly in the past couple of years.
Let me tell you this, and I will be, if you're an Indiana fan, turn down the volume for 10 seconds because you're going to hate me. It does make me sad that I am alive during a time where Indiana winning a game at Xavier before Thanksgiving is reason for a parade.
They hadn't won. I saw a stat, and I couldn't believe this. And I probably should have looked to make sure it was true. I'm sure it was. They hadn't won a true non-conference road game since the NC State game in 2011. You believe that?
Well, they haven't played many of them.
I know.
They haven't played many of them. Almost all their non-conference games are
You
neutral.
only probably play, at this point, 3 of those a year.
Right.
2, 3 of those. But still, like 11 years, Indiana?
Right.
Gavitt games, ACC Challenge. I mean, they have all these opportunities. You're playing Power Sixes when you're doing you're not going to go at Holman Center anymore.
I wish I could re-spark within me the passion that I had for IU basketball in my teens and early 20s because it was so much fun.
I hear you. I think about that sometimes with my teams, like the Giants having a good season, how much I would have enjoyed it if this was 15 years ago, but
it's hard.
You also don't have to put up with the frustration.
True.
Because if they start losing, you're just like,
True.
Whatever. Statement 3, traditional Thanksgiving food is bland and not good. Buy it or bull bleep.
Used to say I buy it, but now I say that's bull Schultz because
does Megan cook for you guys?
No, Megan goes to her in-laws. Juge does.
Okay.
Juge and my mom.
Is Juge a good cook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I like the stuffing and I love cream corn.
Ooh, you guys do cream corn. I wish we do this corn casserole thing that actually is pretty good. I've always liked green bean casserole. The rest of it, if you told me I could never have baked turkey for the rest of my life,
right.
Fine.
Right.
I wish my mom would make ham for Thanksgiving. The ham is delicious. She makes it for Christmas and Easter.
Just go to Honey Baked Ham.
And I've suggested it. It would crush her if I brought my mom.
Well,
is
she'd get the hint.
Stay away.
Maybe she'd get the hint.
This is my day. We're going to do this
tell
my
her,
style.
Tell her if she's not going to make what you ask, then you'll just
No,
bring her
I
on.
don't. You don't really do that with my mom. My mom is she's a beautiful, wonderful person, and you don't ever.
Does
crush
your mom
her hopes.
listen to this or watch this program?
I don't think she does.
Does your dad?
I'm not sure he does anymore.
Do they know what you do for a living?
Yeah. Everything that I do is the best thing that has ever been done by anyone who has ever existed. So I have those type of parents.
Including your skating?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They know. My mom used to take me to, I mean, who do you think drove me to open skate at Tashua? My mom. Of course.
But you're ice skating.
I told them. I actually texted my mom on Saturday. I actually have you want to see the text messages?
I'd like to, let me read the text. I'll read it aloud.
Well, let me check in there just if there's anything embarrassing, but I don't think there is.
What possibly could you have embarrassing in a
my
text
mom
thread
says,
with your mom?
Love you and all that stuff. And
yeah,
it's
that's
just-
embarrassing.
it's
Your
mom
mom
and
tells
son
you
stuff.
she loves you. That's humiliating.
All right, here we go.
Let me see. No, I'll read it.
Okay, here we go. Okay. Start at the top there. The blue text is me.
Okay, blue text is from Derek. Don't want to brag, but someone was a pretty good ice skater thanks to his rollerblading, roller skating days. Your mom. I was just telling your dad that. No kidding. It was really fun. Holiday Park set up an ice rink. We recognized the par. Very nice. Skating at Middlebrook every Monday. What a mom. Oh, we recognized the park. Okay. You really were an ace skater. Other moms used to rave about you.
Thank you.
Yay. Remember the woman who ran Trumbull Rec and saw you roller skating, asked me if I'd considered signing you up for ice hockey. She thought you had remarkable skating skills for a kindergarten kid.
There was talk about that.
Another gift.
Yep.
What is TAG?
Talented and Gifted. I was in the Talented and Gifted program at Middlebrook when I was in second grade, but that was more of a book
You texted
stuff.
your mom a picture of a brain?
Yeah. Yeah. Because big brain. Big brain and ice skating skills.
Okay.
All right. There you go. Now you can
Oh,
hand
wait
me
a
my phone
minute.
back.
I am so elated that a few years ago the career trajectory changed for you where you linked up with someone as talented as
No,
Jake
this is not a
who
text
has
message.
the platform and voice to be able to let people finally
not a
see the
text
gifts
message
that
from
you
my mom.
have. We knew forever, but your father and I were so worried that you will toil in anonymity for the rest of your life until you
She's
were
never
finally
used the word
saved by somebody who
anonymity.
had the platform to get you
No,
recognized.
this is not a text from my mom.
That's interesting.
Vince, mute his mic. There we go.
That's what it says.
No, that's not what it says. Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and Facebook, before and after pictures, chateaukitchens.com for our friends.
No
there.
pictures of Derek coming out of his shower anymore.
College basketball, if you want that,
No,
At Schultz
no one does.
975. Or Derek at QuarryandSchultz.com.
You too can join the list of awkward texts with Derek.
Big college basketball week for both Indiana and Purdue. We'll talk about that. In fact, this will be the college sports segment when we return here on Query and Schultz. Plus our Hoagies and Hops, Hoagie and Hero of the Week. So we're going to eat a little bit. It's Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Welcome back. Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Time to talk a little college sports.
We were just having a debate, Derek, at which point I ate my entire hoagie and hop sandwich, which was fabulous.
You ate the whole thing. We're supposed to show it on video. That's the whole point.
It's great.
We talked about Christina, her Eagles victorious over the Colts yesterday. They've now won 4 straight against Indy.
The Eagles?
Yeah. 2010 with Michael Vick. They won in Philly. Remember the Austin Collie? One of the concussion games for him. 2014 Monday Night Football. Philly came here and won. The drunk Eagles fans at the Noodle.
Right.
2018, that was when Wentz was their starter, and it was like a week 2 game. Remember, and the Colts had chances to win that game and ended up losing, and then 22. Isn't it weird how you'll remember? We've been covering or following the Colts for long enough now where we can go back 14, 16 years with these NFC matchups and remember these games. I won't remember a game from last year.
I remember them going there and James Mungro running touchdowns.
Yeah.
If that tells you anything.
That was 02 when they won there. 06 they won at the Dome, too.
What sandwich do you have there?
I have here the Brotherly Love. I just wanted to do – I think we recently did the Brotherly Love. I wanted to do like a Philly-level sandwich because the Eagles did win. Lots of people –
these Eagle fans
while we were there,
right? Jake
came into Hoagies and Hops all weekend long, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, for being in town. They came into Christina's shop and enjoyed these PA delicious cold subs and cheesesteaks and sides and everything else. But the Brotherly Love that I have here, turkey, ham, salami, prove, lettuce, tomato, oil.
It's very good.
Very, very good.
And you got on me for putting ketchup on a cheesesteak, despite the fact that she has an oil drum-sized ketchup thing right there.
Yeah, French fries. They have French fries in the shop.
Wait until you're done eating, and then you can comment.
So the ketchup is for French fries.
In talking, by the way, by our hero of the week, and Hoagies and Hops hero of the week, Derek, do you have a nominee that you would like?
Thank you for asking. My nominee for hero of the week.
My nominee for hero of the week, he says. One moment, please. Thank you for asking, he had previously said, before finishing what he is eating, which I don't blame because the Brotherly Love is a fabulous sandwich. And Hoagies and Hops at 42nd and Boulevard, the inside of it is like a little slice of Philadelphia, which is a good thing because she's got a hometown pride, but she calls it Phillyopolis. So it's a combination of bringing Philly to here in Indianapolis.
All right, I'm ready. Trace Jackson Davis just kind of put the team on his back. Tough road environment.
Great player.
Xavier's a good team. I mean, that's a tournament team. Probably not a top 25 team, but I think pretty firmly a tournament team that'll very likely remain a quad 1 win, especially with it being a true road game. 30 points on 16 shots. He was the best player on the floor. And this is such an interesting year for him, Jake, because let's say Indiana does not meet expectations. Let's say Indiana is not even a top 25 team and they end up being like a 7 seed and they lose in the second round. I think you're going to remember Trace Jackson Davis's career, because let's face it, this is his last year there, right? Very differently than if this team actually does something and takes off. Because if you look statistically, he's one of the most productive players, certainly in Indiana's modern history, and certainly in the 21st century. But the problem is that team success hasn't come with it.
Right.
So the true legends of Indiana, you remember not only for their team, like I don't only remember Calbert Chaney for the Wooden Award and team success and being a lottery pick. I remember
the number 1 seed 93.
Final Four in 92 and one of the best teams they ever had in 93.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get that with Trace Jackson Davis, fairly or unfairly, unless he takes off. But I think this is a big kind of legacy year for him, and I think he's up to the challenge.
Yeah, he's been kind of a man amongst boys, to be honest with you. His athleticism and his ability to get the ball on the wing now and penetrate in is kind of a new wrinkle, if you will, to his game as well. So Trace Jackson-Davis, very deserving as our hero of the week. Derek, we were talking during the break about college football, and let me spell out for you what we were talking about.
Can I mention Purdue, though, too?
Sure, go
I
ahead.
feel like we got to do, equal opportunity. We mentioned the IU Xavier win. Nice win for Purdue. Marquette not as good as Xavier.
Purdue, two really good backcourt players. They're going to be there for a long time.
And Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer, both who I watched a lot in high school with ISC stuff. But just a nice response for them to close it out the way that they did. The final 4 or 5 minutes, they really kind of dug in. And Marquette kind of made it interesting at the very end. But Mackey's just such a tough place to play and a tough place to win. But good job for Purdue holding serve at home against Marquette.
Now, you're going to be talking about Purdue a lot coming up, right?
I guess so, yeah. Yeah.
Are you not?
I mean, I guess I could say it. I announced it on Twitter. Yeah, I'll be a Purdue employee coming up here about 2 weeks.
Crossing enemy lines.
No, see, it is very hard for people who are diehard fans of teams to understand that other people kind of maybe evolve past that.
Right.
It's hard for my college roommates to understand that they remember me when I was 20. And so they got a gigantic kick out of the fact that I'm taking a job at Purdue because they remember how I felt about Purdue when I was 20.
Well, you developed a mascot for Indiana.
Well, yeah. And because I was a diehard Indiana guy. But this kind of happened. This developed over time with the radio show. Our affiliation with Purdue is what really kind of opened my eyes. And Tom Schott and Elliot Bloom and Chris Foreman and the late Matt Rector, all those guys. It's a great family. It's a terrific community of people. And then, we got to know Mitch Daniels a little bit.
Right.
Tim Doty, the guy that hired me, is a terrific guy and an ex-media guy,
Now, is he related to the hugger?
No, I don't think so. It's same spelling and everything. I don't think they're actually related.
Okay.
He's a Michigan guy, whereas Rob Doty's from Sullivan, Indiana, down there in that southwest corner. But yeah, I'm excited about it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, congratulations. We'll continue to do the show, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so nothing will change on that front.
In terms of the college football playoff, Derek, and I want you to hear me out before you tell me that I'm wrong. In looking at the college football playoff rankings, there wasn't necessarily chaos this weekend. TCU was on the ropes and then wins against Baylor to stay unbeaten, so TCU is in. So right now you have Georgia, who's unbeaten. You have Ohio State, Michigan, who are going to cannibalize, and then fourth you have TCU. Then peering through the door to see what happens, you have, in no particular order, LSU, USC, obviously, Alabama, Clemson. Now, LSU and Alabama, only one of the two of them, if I'm not mistaken, can make it to the SEC championship game, right?
Yeah.
So one of those is out.
Yes.
They both have 2 losses. And I realize if they get to the SEC title game and beat Georgia, then this is an interesting discussion because clearly the SEC champion goes, and a one-loss Georgia probably goes as well.
Goes, yeah. I think
but if
definitely goes.
If everything holds serve, in other words, if Georgia wins the SEC title, then you have a 3-loss LSU or Alabama. You have a 2-loss LSU or Alabama that did not make it to their conference championship game. Now, if Notre Dame beats USC, which I think they may do, if Notre Dame beats USC, and I think Ohio State's going to beat Michigan, and I know we're talking about a lot of hypotheticals here, but I'm saying if everything happens that you anticipate happening, Clemson, their last game of the regular season is against South Carolina, who just dropped 63 on Tennessee.
Who's pretty good, yeah. I mean, they got 4 losses, but they're good.
And then they have North Carolina in the ACC title game.
Is that locked in?
Yeah.
Okay.
If they were to win those 2 games, then Clemson brings to the table a resume that they are an ACC Power 5 champion, which the committee has emphasized annually that they prioritize conference champion. I have no idea how accurate that is. But if Clemson has 1 loss and Notre Dame beats USC, then I think Clemson, with their one loss, kind of backdoors their way in. Now, they're not in Georgia's league. I mean, no question about it. But if Ohio State is the one. If Michigan beats Ohio State and it's close, I think Ohio State still probably gets in just based on kind of the lore. And Ohio State has been pummeling people all year. Michigan, to me, is the one that, sure, they beat Penn State, but I feel like people feel like Michigan is still kind of, they're not sold on Michigan. And Michigan went last year. If Michigan has a loss and they are put up against Clemson, who has a loss but is coming in on a win streak that includes over South Carolina and North Carolina, and with Notre Dame's win over USC, Clemson's loss, albeit a shellacking to Notre Dame, is less egregious than it was at the time. Because Notre Dame is playing really well. They just blew Boston College off the field. They're blowing people out. They will have beaten USC. You know, Notre Dame right now, Derek, is 15th in the rankings.
Yeah.
If they beat USC, then Notre Dame all of a sudden probably moves into the top 10. So Clemson then says, yeah, we do have L loss, but it was on the road to what is now a top 10 team, and we finished by winning 4 straight, including 2 teams in South Carolina and North Carolina that are, you know, South Carolina who blew out Tennessee and North Carolina who's ranked 14th or whatever. I do think that there is a chance that they get in. Ohio State, between Ohio State and Michigan, I feel like if it's a close game, Ohio State still goes. But Michigan, if they lose a close game, gets bounced out.
I think that when you have a 12-1 conference champion, you're obviously going to get a look at. I'm interested to see what the committee would decide to do if they decided to penalize Michigan for really an unforgivably bad non-conference schedule. Michigan played 3 of the worst FBS programs in existence in their 3.
Right.
You know, Hawaii, I think Colorado State. Was UConn the other game?
That might be right.
Okay. And UConn actually had a decent season, but, you know, 3 really bad games, whereas Clemson went out and played Notre Dame. I know that's the ACC Notre Dame deal, but still. They played Notre Dame and they played South Carolina, which they do every single year. And
they also played.
Those are 2 good non-league opponents.
They played 1 good non-league. Now I got to think of who it was.
Are you sure? I'm looking here. Furman and La Tech are the other 2 that I see.
Who did they open with?
Georgia Tech.
Okay, that's sorry.
My issue is with Clemson, and they've turned it on here, right? They blew out Miami stinks, but they blew out Miami. Louisville's actually been pretty good, and they blew out Louisville. Michigan's first kind of close scrape was this past weekend. Michigan doesn't have great wins, but they've been dunking on people, whereas Clemson had a lot of close scrapes with Syracuse and with double overtime with Wake
Forest. There's no doubt that they went through a stretch there. Clemson did for about 3 or 4 weeks where they did not play well.
That Florida State loss has aged well, but I think Clemson needs a lot of help. I do think that they're going to get a look, but I think they would almost have to be taken by default at this point. I think they would be very low on the overall.
Well, but what I'm saying
order.
is, if Notre Dame beats USC,
yeah,
and if Georgia wins the ACC,
which is no given, by the way, USC is going to be favored and they're at home.
Understood, but if Georgia wins the SEC title, okay, then you would have Georgia is in, they're unbeaten, right? You would have LSU or Alabama would have 3 losses, so that would bounce them out, right? So you would have Georgia is in. Let's say, for the sake of argument, TCU runs the table. TCU's in, right?
And then the Ohio State-Michigan winner is in.
The Ohio State-Michigan winner's in. So then the question becomes...
Because we're assuming they're going to beat the Big Ten West champion.
Okay, so then the argument becomes... the 4th spot comes down to 1 loss Michigan, 1 loss Clemson,
2 loss Alabama.
2 loss
They
Alabama.
get left out of the SEC championship game.
And 2 loss USC.
Yeah.
To me, that comes down to 1 loss Clemson and 1 loss Michigan. And one of them, say what you want about the ACC, I'm not going to argue that, but they're a conference champion, and that's what the committee claims they go on.
I agree. I'm not saying that this is right, and I don't think that Alabama is as strong as they've usually been. I think that there would be a pretty animated discussion, even with the conference championship, about 2 loss Alabama and 1
you're
loss.
You're not going to hear any argument from me that Alabama is one of the 4 best teams in the country.
I
know that.
See, I don't know if they're one of the 4 best teams,
I do.
but I think that would be a heated I wouldn't just toss Alabama away because they don't have the conference championship. I think if that many teams that many teams lost in that scenario, I think Alabama would re-enter the picture.
Here's the other thing. So Alabama's 2 losses are to who? LSU, right?
Yeah, LSU and
Tennessee.
And Tennessee, yeah. Both on the road. Both close.
And if the Tennessee loss, though, if Tennessee – it's hard to say because Tennessee now doesn't have their quarterback. But that Tennessee loss has the potential to really become a little bit more –
well, what hurts them is
a little less forgivable.
Ole Miss was one of their best losses, and Ole Miss just got shellacked by Arkansas over the weekend. So that hurts them as well. But I'm sorry. I know that this is something that you and I are both really invested in. I love talking about these sort of scenarios. I do sometimes wonder how much it translates to our audience. I know we're deeper into the show.
I get it. I do think this. I think it's interesting.
I love the college football playoff.
I think
it's great.
Here's where they're brilliant, Derek. People will look at the rankings when they come out like a Clemson or an Alabama being down further down and think that means that's where they are perceived at that time. I think they look at it and they say, we can put a team here because so long as they went out, they're going to move their way up, and it generates conversation.
Yeah. No, it definitely generated. I mean, it's generated conversation on this show for sure. Whereas if it was just 2 teams, we wouldn't have as much of that. Ball State, let's talk about our Cardinals. Unfortunately, back-to-back losses now, so they're down to their final game.
How sweet is this helmet?
To try to earn bowl eligibility. They fell to a really good Ohio team, probably the best team in the MAC.
That is
certainly
awesome.
The best team in the
MAC.
MAC.
That logo is awesome.
In the home finale. And tomorrow night, so Tuesday night, we're taping this on Monday, they get Miami of Ohio, and both of those teams looking for bowl eligibility. They're both 5-6. So we'll see if our Ball State fighting Cards can't get to the magic 6 number and get into a bowl game.
And basketball-wise, the Michael Lewis era is underway, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's exciting to see what he's going to end up building there. But BallStateSports.com for tickets for their winter sports. Obviously, the football schedule now has completed at Schumann Stadium, but volleyball, men's and women's basketball. They got a great women's basketball program as well. And a lot of the other winter sports offerings, ballstatesports.com.
All right.
For our friends over there. Pacers keep cooking. Are they good? Are they good? We're going to talk about that when we come back. Also, a couple more features to get to as we continue here on Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Other universities didn't fit into my life.
They said I'd have to quit my job to go to school.
He said it would take me 4 years to graduate.
They said I have to take tests when they tell me to.
They said my degree would cost a fortune.
But I didn't have to listen to them.
Because I have a university that listens to me.
Tests on your time. Courses on your time. Graduate on your time. WGU, the University of You.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hi there, welcome back. Episode number 112 of Query and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network inside the Lou Malnati studio and presented by Bailey and Wood. One note, by the way, as we are taping this on Monday afternoon, congratulations to the Indiana Sports Corps who have announced that they have landed the 2028 Women's Final Four in Indianapolis. So the 2028 Final Four in Indianapolis, and Derek, in his new position, may be writing about the fact that Purdue Athletics, with Katie Geralds at the helm, are bringing the Lady Boilers to Gainbridge Fieldhouse for the Final Four.
How about Terry Moore and the Hoosiers, too? Man,
yeah,
women's basketball is in very good shape in this state right now. Very good shape.
You want your house to be in very good shape in terms of making sure that it's warm as the weather turns cold. And what better way to do that than with Love Heating and Air? Love Heating and Air has been around since 1920 in Central Indiana. That is 4 generations deep of a family-owned business. Love-HVAC.com is their website. That's love-HVAC.com. On Twitter, at LoveHeatIndy, or, of course, you can always call them at 317-353-2141. That's 353-2141 for the best in terms of customer care, quality of product, knowledge of product, great prices, and 24-hour on-call maintenance and dedication to the customer. That's what you get with Love Heating and Air, who brings us each and every week our Love That Play, our favorite play from the weekend. Derek, for me, my nominee is the fact that the Pacers had a guy that was kind of many thought to be not a throw-in on a trade, but Aaron Nesmith was a young player who was a lottery pick that went to Boston out of Vanderbilt, or at least a first-round pick, and didn't get a lot of reps in Boston because he was kind of log-jammed. Pacers take him. He had some injury issues early on, but has played his way into the rotation, and when the game was on the line the other night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and I forget now who they were even playing. Orlando, thank you. Game on the line, Aaron Nesmith gets fouled, goes to the free throw line just under 10 seconds to go, hits the free throws for yet another win for the Pacers. This young team's playing well, and Aaron Nesmith, my nominee for Love That Play.
Yeah, it's been incredible, and everyone is just kind of sticking to their role.
Right.
And not getting in each
Playing
other's
within
way.
themselves, right?
And it's, the whole winning is contagious thing. I know it sounds cliche, but it feels contagious right now. Like, Turner's playing well, and Halliburton feeds off of that. And Mathurin feeds off of Halliburton playing well, and so on and so forth. And it's just everyone's just maximizing themselves individually while also kind of creating cohesion as a team. So it's been speaking, winning is contagious, coffee's contagious.
I sneezed. I didn't cough.
You made me start coughing.
No, I sneezed. I didn't cough.
You did. Sorry, whatever.
Yawning is contagious.
Your cold symptoms got on me there.
Okay.
So the Pacers now 9-6 after 4 straight wins. They've got Orlando again tonight. But, I mean, it's crazy to think that this is a team that could potentially – look, we're 15 games in, right? So we're still not even – we're not even a fifth of the way through the season, right? So – we need to maybe pump the brakes on playoffs and all of that, but clearly
took you that long to come up with that.
What people need to do now.
15 times 5, 75. There's 82 games.
Just relax,
right?
Just relax.
I mean, how hard was that?
My hand was on the table. Nobody could see what I was doing. People need to move on from the tanking thing. Like, I was still fielding tweets after the Orlando game. Oh God, like this is bad that they're winning. I'm like, guys, they're not going to be bad enough to get the number one pick.
And I think they figured that out.
Yeah, they're not going to be bad enough to be in play. Like, they might not be a playoff team. But this is not going to be like a 20-win basketball team.
What's interesting is some of the other teams that we assumed were going to tank also started playing well.
Yeah,
right?
that's true. But I mean, you still have the bad teams in the league.
I mean, Detroit, though, who thought they'd be this bad?
Yeah, that's a little surprising. On the other side of things, a franchise that mirrors the Pacers in some ways, and just the fact that they're not talked about a lot, the Kings are 9-6.
Yeah.
And Domas Sabonis is playing very well for them, fitting right in. He's a 17-11-6 guy right now. And De'Aaron Fox is just taken off, and that's a good squad that no one ever talks about.
Do you know what franchise the Kings began as?
I feel like you asked me this one. Cincinnati Royals?
Yeah, it might have been the Omaha. No, Omaha Royals is baseball. Cincinnati Royals, Kansas City Kings, Sacramento Kings.
Okay. Yeah. Kansas City Kings through the 70s, right? And then was it the 80s?
Like
for
late,
Sacramento?
Yeah, 83,
okay.
Probably 82, 83.
Gotcha.
Buffalo Braves. Do you know what they became?
Clippers.
Nice.
Yep.
Look at you.
Yep.
Look at the big brain on Derek. That's impressive.
NBA dorkdom was my number one dorkdom as a kid.
Really?
Yeah, I lived and died Knicks. Knicks were – I loved the Yankees. I loved the Giants. I loved IU basketball.
Aside from Ewing, who was your favorite Knick of all time?
Aside from Ewing? Gerald Wilkins. Because that was the first team that I remember. The 89 team swept Philly. They were the 2 seed in the East, and they lost to Jordan's Bulls in 89 because Jordan averaged like 50 points a game in the series. Just killed them. It was the year he hit the shot to beat the Cavs.
Right.
So that was their first round series. Then they beat the Knicks in the second round. Then they got beat up by the bad boy Pistons in the conference finals.
What about, I'll name a couple other Knicks here, see if you like them.
Anthony Mason would be very, very close to the top.
Charles Oakley?
List. Oakley I loved.
Trent Tucker?
Yep. I loved every Knick.
Mark Jackson?
Yeah. Rod Strickland?
Charles Smith?
On the early teams? Hated Charles Smith. There's one that I did not like. Yeah, hated Charles Smith. He was from Bridgeport. He was from the town over from me.
Just dunk it, right?
Yeah, he was from the town over from me. But he didn't fit those teams at all. He was very mild-mannered, nice guy, really smart, and super soft. Where you have like Xavier McDaniel and Oakley and Mason and guys that are just
goons.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. It's funny that Pacers fans say that because Antonio Davis was a total goon. So was Dale Davis.
Of course. Those
Pacers had goons themselves.
They were badass.
Yeah, no. I mean, it was goonball. It was 71-69 games.
It's the late Anthony Mason, right?
Yeah, passed away a couple of years ago.
Yeah, okay. Good player.
I used to go on the Knicks message boards back in the day when SB Nation first started, and my username was Anthony Mason's haircut.
Okay.
Because he used to shave stuff into his head.
Okay. How about John Starks?
Love John Starks. One of my all-time favorites.
Okay.
I'm telling you, Derek Harper, same spelling of Derek with me. Love Derek Harper.
Rolando Blackman?
He wasn't relevant enough for me to.
Oh, was he a
love
Knick
hate.
or a Mav? He might have been a Mav.
No, he became a Knick late on that finals team, and then the next era would have been like Allen Houston, Latrell Sprewell, Marcus Camby, Chris Childs, Charlie Ward, Chris Dudley.
At least you haven't said the one.
Larry Johnson, who I loved LJ. I had his jersey. I still have it. I still fit in it, and I don't need an undershirt for that one either.
It was not a 4-point play.
If you don't like it, then don't lose twice at MSA. You know, everybody talks about the 4-point play. Knicks went to MSA and won twice.
The Pacers completely choked that series. Don't get me wrong, but it was not a 4-point play, and that probably was a trajectory-changing play.
I think there was an argument made there for contact, which may have altered LJ's elbow a little bit, like before, while he was cocking the gun to fire away. So I mean, I've watched it frame by frame before, and I don't think it's as cut and dried as
he
people.
Was
in
fouled,
Indiana think.
Put the ball on the floor, took a step to the left, pulled up, and shot.
Yeah, it's called continuation. If you look it up in the NBA rule book, I'm sure they'll have an explanation for you there. But yes, that is called continuing the play, continuation. And he was granted continuation.
Okay.
See, I can admit, like, the Rockets were better than them in '94. The Pacers were better than the Knicks in '95. Pacers were better than the Knicks in '98 and 2000.
The Pacers
fans were always screwed by some conspiracy or some call or whatever. Somebody lost a jump ball.
In '99,
you lost.
That was a horrible call, and it changed the trajectory of the series.
You still came back to MSA 2-2 and lost.
Like I said,
yeah.
The Pacers choked the playoff series away, but that was a trajectory-changing.
The beauty, what I'll always say is the beauty of Knicks Pacers was how often, backs against the wall, the away team came away crushing the other team's hopes on their home floor. Like the Pacers won at the Garden a lot.
Right.
The Knicks won at MSA a lot. Like more often than anybody else did. Like no one came to the Garden and won in the 90s except for the Pacers. And I'm sure nobody came to MSA a lot of the time and won. And the Knicks just, I don't know. The road teams just had a knack for it.
The loss to me that will haunt me forever is in '94.
Yeah, Game 6.
Vern Fleming drives to the layup and gets stripped. And
Starks went off that game too. I rewatched that game, Jake. That was a really poorly played. It was so intense, and the crowd was crazy. That was a really poorly played game.
Sure.
Like I don't know if you've ever rewatched any of those Pacers, any of the '90s games.
I mean,
it's not even the same sport as what they play now.
Correct.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
We already got to love that play, right? In our Pacers talk. So we're gonna wrap up next with a little bit of quick hits and our WGU Indiana Sage Move for the week.
All right.
Corey and Schultz, Ty Bow on it next here on ISC.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
Other universities didn't fit into my life.
They said I'd have to quit my job to go to school.
They said it would take me 4 years to graduate.
They said I have to take tests when they tell me to.
They said my degree would cost a fortune.
But I didn't have to listen to them.
Because I have a university that listens to me.
Tests on your time, courses on your time, graduate on your time. WGU, the University of You.
and Schultz here on the IC Sports Network. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way. Isn't it weird to think that it's Thanksgiving week?
It feels to me like we're past Thanksgiving because I've been hearing Christmas music everywhere forever.
Well, it doesn't help that we've been stuck in this 8-day polar vortex where it's like late January temperatures, and it looks like it's finally going to break starting tomorrow. Thanks to our friends at WGU Indiana. They've been with us since the very beginning of the show. WGU.edu/Indiana for all of their degree programs. Earn your degree on your own time where ambition never rests with WGU Indiana. We're in this world now post-COVID with remote work and doing things on your own time. And if you're one of those people doing things on your own time, go get a degree. Go advance your career with our friends at WGU Indiana.
Indiana's largest online accredited university, WGU.edu/Indiana. 700,000 Hoosiers have college credits out there that they did not complete. Those do not expire. And WGU is a place where you can finish your degree, or as Derek had mentioned, go back for the first time and get one, or a work certification. All available at WGU.edu/Indiana. Derek, time for quick hits, right? Or our stage move of the week first.
Yeah,
right?
let's do our stage move of the week. How about the Commanders sticking with Taylor Heinicke and winning again? I mean, albeit against a really bad Houston team.
But I give them credit, right? Because Carson Wentz is a guy that they gave up a lot for, although admittedly they give up less if he doesn't take the same number of snaps. But Carson Wentz, a guy that in the NFC East was thought to be a starting at franchise-level quarterback. But Tyler Heinicke, kudos to him as well for answering the call when he had to fill in. But you kind of stick with the hot hand, and Washington did it, and they continue to win.
Yeah, and it doesn't take much to be a playoff team in this year's NFL, and the Commanders are right there. They're right in that mix. How about the NFC East? It's crazy to think, right? I mean, you got the Eagles at 9-2 or 9-1, right? Cowboys playing really well. I know the Giants have cooled off, but 7-3, and now the Commanders are the winning record.
Yeah,
it's wild.
It's also wild to think that, as I mentioned earlier, the Colts may well sweep the AFC West and get swept by the NFC East.
And not go 500. Yeah, which is crazy. Let's get to our quick hits here quickly. A lot of people had a problem with what Nick Sirianni did after the game. Talking to some fans in the front row. It looked like he was just talking with Eagles fans.
See, that's the thing. I think people thought initially he was barking at Colts fans. Once you figure out it was Eagles fans that he was celebrating the moment with, I think it's a little less egregious.
And look, he clearly took this game personally. He did not like how they treated Frank Reich. Whether you think, I think we all agree that Reich's firing was warranted, but the handling of the quarterback situation and doing it via phone call, I think there were some things that Jim Irsay handled poorly there. And we're all human at the end of the day. If somebody fired your friend and mentor in Ed Sorensen, you would take it personally.
Right. You wouldn't do that if I got fired, though, right?
Well, we got fired at this. Well, first off, you're my best friend, so yeah, I was hurt by that, but I was worried about myself too. You're not really my mentor, though.
I guess actually, if I'm going to get fired anywhere, you are too, right?
Well, not at Purdue.
Me.
Yeah. If you get fired, yeah. I mean, I really did think that the last job was going to be your last job, so it's actually shocking that you got another job after this last job.
This is probably it.
This is definitely it. World Cup underway. U.S. men's national team playing Wales this afternoon in Group B. We're taping this right now, so by the time you're watching it, that game's already gone final.
Is that your buddy? Your buddy, didn't he meet at a Wendy's about Wales?
Yeah, no, that's the Hartford Whalers that you're thinking of. This is the actual country of Wales. England and Iran are also in the group. The English defeated the Iranians 6-2 earlier today, so not particularly a strong group. English are always good, but not like group of depth like they U.S. in 06 had Ghana, Czech Republic, and Italy. Like that.
I
was
watched
a really tough
yesterday Ecuador and Qatar, who is the home nation.
Yeah.
And I saw all these fans from Ecuador, and I'm like, man, I mean it's a long way to go. If you live in Ecuador, like you're going, and it can't be inexpensive to get there and stay there. And then I read somewhere that apparently they're paying people to dress as and cheer for different countries.
Like seat fillers at an award show.
Correct.
Yeah, I did. I read the same thing. I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole thing is such a corrupt, ridiculous.
My buddy Matt
mess,
Jacklin had a great line yesterday when he said the Netflix documentary is going to be great.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane that they're holding a World Cup in Qatar. Like it's just. It makes my skin crawl. Like that's how dirty like these payoffs and handouts, and they bring in these migrant workers to build all this stuff, and it's horrible.
Yeah,
just really, I feel bad even enjoying it as a sports fan. Thanks to all of our great sponsors.
By the way, Purdue AP Top 25 cracking in, joining Indiana as a ranked club now. The Boilers 24th.
Oh wow, good for them. Yeah, I didn't see that. Lou Malnati's Bailey and Wood Financial Group.
PR rep for Purdue in this
Hoagies
group.
and hops. It's on the university side of things, so it's not always about the athletics. WGU Indiana. Who else am I missing?
Love Heating and
Hoagies
Air.
and hops. Love Heating and Air. And Ball
State University.
Everyone else. For our buddies Vince and Jordan on the other side of the glass, Jake Query, I'm Derek Schultz. We will see you next week for episode 113. It's Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Bye.